Hey, Natasha Neese here, author of Rise Up and Rock, A Front Woman's Journey. And today we're going to read chapter 2. It's called Music as Medicine. The next morning I woke up in my cabin. About a year earlier, I had moved out of the main house and into the storage barn on the same property, a structure I had completely transformed into a small living space of my own. It had become my sanctuary, a refuge from the growing emotional turbulence in the main house. My little cabin gave me the privacy to pray, meditate, read, talk with trusted friends and counselors, and try to understand why my life felt so misaligned. I'd been raised Christian, but was fascinated by the common thread running through many spiritual traditions. After reading A Course in Miracles, a dense 3-volume work widely regarded as a channeling of Christ consciousness, I chose to attend John F. Kennedy University to major in mysticism. I saw that in most world religions, the stories and names differed, but arguing about which one was right felt counter to their purpose of love, devotion, and reverence. So I broadened my vocabulary to embrace a more inclusive sense of connection. I longed for unity and compassion rather than separation and judgment. My deepest priority was to experience the inner peace that comes from trusting and resting in what I called God, or Great Spirit, the unseen orchestrating presence of life within us and nature's sustainable harmony all around us. While praying was a way of speaking, meditating became a way of listening with all my senses. Every morning I did both. Months earlier, I had committed to a disciplined meditation practice I'd learned at a Vipassana retreat. Every morning, we were awakened before dawn by the sound of a bell, rising in darkness to sit in stillness for an hour before breakfast. The meals were simple, delicious vegan dishes designed to cleanse and ground the body. We gathered in a large dome to meditate an hour before and after every meal, 6 hours of sitting each day. Instruction was offered once a day, and those brief teachings were the only spoken words during the entire 9 days of silence. These teachings were neither dogmatic nor religious and didn't reference any culture or tradition. It was entirely body-centered. We had only pillows and blankets to comfort ourselves as we sat either cross-legged or with our legs bent beneath us. He guided us through practices like closing our eyes and slowly scanning the body from head to toe, again and again, or imagining our breath moving in and out through every pore of our skin. These exercises informed my awareness in a way I hadn't expected. I discovered that when my eyes were closed, I couldn't accurately sense my own body at all. When I tried to visualize myself, I didn't see the body I was actually sitting in. Instead, I saw an illustration of a body floating out in front of me, disconnected, unanchored. And when I attempted to sense my body from the inside, everything felt distorted. My spine seemed twisted, my legs uneven, one side larger than the other. There were parts I could barely sense at all. It was as if my boundaries were so elusive that my energetic self wasn't fully inhabiting my physical form. It felt like I was beside myself. After years of focusing outwardly, worrying about what everyone else, especially my partner, was thinking or doing, I was hyper attuned to his moods, trying to decode his countenance and silences as a subconscious survival strategy. I had been so preoccupied with coping from his steady abandonment that I had completely abandoned myself. I'd left myself unprotected, unrepresented, and very vulnerable, trying to earn breadcrumbs of affection he rationed for his careful control. In that cocktail of gaslighting, codependence, and emotional neglect, I couldn't even feel what I needed, let alone ask for it. The lights were on, but nobody was home. So I became devoted to coming home to myself. In the final days of the meditation retreat, I began to feel physically and energetically aligned, and the constant mental chatter, imagined conversations with others trying to explain myself, finally started to quiet. A few times I slipped into what felt like true meditation when the brain waves slow down and an unusually deeper peace emerges. It was like sinking into an underwater world where everything moved in slow, fluid currents, and thoughts appeared like small fish breaking the surface, easy to identify as thoughts, irrelevant to the moment, and able to drift away without attachment. I became profoundly aware of the difference between what lives inside and what exists outside, and of the subtle energetic dimensions throughout our physical world. The leader of the Vipassana retreat emerged as a mentor at the exact moment I was ready, offering not answers, but a key to my inner world. It was this meditation practice that taught me to listen deeply enough to perceive the dark energy and its message the night before in the living room, and, in contrast, to receive the supernatural occurrence of the benevolent guide that awaited me the next morning. The leader of the Vipassana retreat emerged as a mentor at the exact moment I was ready, offering not answers, but a key to my inner world. It was this meditation practice that taught me to listen deeply enough to perceive the dark energy and its message the night before in the living room, and, in contrast, to receive the supernatural occurrence of the benevolent guide that waited me the next morning. In my cabin, as I was meditating that morning, my mind was clear and my brainwaves slow. Suddenly, a foreign scent filled the air, the unmistakable fragrance of a lady's old-fashioned soap. It hovered around me, a presence so undeniable that I began laughing and crying at the same time, speaking out loud, "Thank you for being with me. Thank you for being with me. Thank you for being with me." It felt like a loving ancestor was right beside me, and a direct conveyance of words came into my mind clearly. "You have to leave, or you'll die. We've got your back." Until that moment, I hadn't felt the strength to disentangle myself from the shared home and family in which I'd invested so deeply, financially and otherwise. The thought of packing, finding a new home for myself and my horses, and going out into the world as a single woman in my 50s felt completely overwhelming. I'd always been independent and capable, but at that point, I was caught in a thick and sticky web that was beyond just practicalities. It was a mental, energetic, and psychic prison. I felt so vampirically drained that when friends would check in with concern, I'd say, "I know I need to leave, but I just don't have the strength." And worse, I had been telling myself, maybe this is just as good as it gets for me. At least I'm not being abused, physically abused, like so many other women. I should just keep my head down and my legs spread. I normalized my own erasure and tried to make myself grateful for his cruelty because it wasn't violence I could photograph. At least with violence, which I'd experienced in 2 previous relationships, I was clear what was happening. But in this case, the confusion was immense, crazy making. I later realized this level of confusion wasn't a failure of understanding as much as a symptom of manipulation. But the visitation from my spirit guide flipped a switch for me. I knew what I had to do, and most importantly, had the strength to do it. It was a life-saving spiritual intervention. Within 6 days, and the crucial assistance of my 2 allies and close friends, Nancy and Kim, I had packed everything from inside the main house and my main cabin and moved into a beautiful rental in town. The universe responded with multiple synchronicities because certainly the act of reclaiming myself had unlocked a flow of abundance and grace. The very night I moved into my new home, the phone rang. It was Johnny, a man I had met months earlier at an open mic. He asked if I would like to sing for his variety band, Saucy. Within days, I began rehearsing with Johnny, James and Elena, and Jerry, singing a wide spectrum of songs from Taylor Swift to, yes, Led Zeppelin. Rock and roll and Jamaica were already on their set list. The energy of these songs transported me back to my teenage years in the 80s, when music was more than sound. It was my lifeline during the most difficult time of my youth. Its healing balm created a blueprint on my soul in the summer between 10th and 11th grade, when I was grounded for the entire summer for being caught drinking alcohol, a punishment that felt heartlessly disappropriate. I was otherwise a good girl, but my mom's response was to steal an entire season of freedom from me. We lived far out in the country, Rougemont, North Carolina, and my isolation was complete. Even sneaking out at night was not an option. The nearest neighbor was miles down a dusty road, and when the sun went down, the world outside my window turned black. The summer I turned 16, the summer I was promised my mom's old car, became a season of deep sadness and introversion instead. No deepening friendships, no memory making, no summer love under the stars. The social life that meant everything to a teenage girl carried on without me. Every day when my mom was gone to work, I cranked up the stereo with no worry of neighbors. I sang along in full volume, no holding back, letting my breath and the music stream through my body, freeing the pain I didn't know how else to express. Aggression, grief, rage, tenderness, yearning, I channeled it all. That's how I initially learned to sing. Not from lessons, but from catharsis. My room turned into a sonic sanctuary where I danced and raged and shook and screamed and stomped and cried. I moved the energy of injustice and longing through my body with each guitar riff and every primal drum beat. The singers' voices became my own. At night, I would lie on my back on the floor, headphones clamped tight to my ears, close my eyes and let the music wash over me. In that private world of sound, I could forget how alone I was. Night after night, I let the music carry my sadness and rebellion to the stars, as if someone in the night sky might hear and answer. While other girls my age were whispering secrets about falling for boys, my heart was whispering secrets to the ceiling, immersed in lyrics that understood my pain. Music became my medicine, and the musicians were the boys I was falling in love with. It was the only thing that kept my spirit from withering in that sweet 16 summer. That youthful loneliness, so total and consuming, bore a strange resemblance to the exile I endured during that harrowing relationship. I was imprisoned, not by an overly protective parent or country miles, but by the invisible shackles of emotional manipulation. The story had evolved, but the medicine was the same. Music had been my faithful companion in my isolation, the anchor of my resilience, and the catalyst of my transformation. What once was a lifeline in the darkness had become a joyous declaration of freedom. Through every chapter, lonely girl, silenced lover, and now hopeful artist, the soundtrack of my life played on, guiding me back home to myself every time.